record, and we're going to share the screen as well. All right, guys, welcome to this week's live presentation. And we are going to be talking about sports supplements today, trying to answer the question of what subs should I take, right? So a very common question that we have for lots of people who are involved in fitness and health and lots of people who are starting their fitness and health journey. And of course, doing the challenge is what supplements should I buy? And I don't think it helps that there's so many different brands and so many different products out there, and it can always be quite confusing, especially when there's very big, complicated words and things that we don't quite understand. So for today, we've actually got a very special guest with us. I want you all to meet Tristan Shaun D'Souza. This is what he looks like here. It's giving us a little wave. Now, Tristan is a sports nutritionist. He's studying his Masters of Health Science, graduating just in a few short weeks, and also has a Bachelor of Clinical Science and has done a lot of coursework in biomedicine at Monash University. So Tristan, welcome to this week's presentation.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
It's going to be really great. Now, Tristan's my go-to guy with everything related to sports nutrition and physiology. And, we often have debates about the role of catecholamines, or we were previously just talking about CLA and how it has different effects in the body. So we often have conversations around that one there. So it'll be a good presentation today. Now, Tristan, let's jump right into it, mate. So, first of all, when we're talking about sports supplements here, we could really break it down to a picture like this, right? So we can see on one side where we've got something like a multivitamin and, things like iron and magnesium and such, or fish oil tablets. But then sports supplements, we're really talking about the other side of things where we're talking about the things like protein powders, creatine, pre-workouts and things like that. Now, your role as a sports nutritionist, what kind of things are you doing with people to improve their performance in sports?
So it's sort of like a variety of things. So we don't just touch on, as a sports nutritionist, I don't just touch on the sports supplement side of it as well. That's a big factor on how, the 1% is how I can optimize your performance through ergogenics, so like supplements and things like that. But it's also a lot to do with diet and how we can optimize those little things, those little foods that you can eat so you can feel better on the day of training.
Yeah, great. Let's jump into some common supplements here. But before we do, I want to touch on a few factors that determine your stack. Now, a stack is commonly referred to the stack of supplements that you do take. So the first thing that's going to determine what you do take is your fitness and your health goal. Next will be your own individual deficiencies and or weaknesses. So for example, let's say a protein that we're going to touch on just very soon. If you are having deficiency in protein intakes, you may want to supplement with protein so that you get your protein intakes, right? Next would be your training level and your dedication. So if you are, Mr. Olympia about to step on stage, or you're about to pull a record deadlift like Hafthor Bjornsson, you might want to have a better, more in tune sports supplement stack compared to, maybe if you're a super beginner, first time to losing weight, you may not need lots of complicated strategies. And I think the big one here is the financial budget. So I guess, we can add loads and loads of different stacks, but at the end of the day, if you are in a tight financial situation, maybe supplements aren't for you, and you should be focusing more on that 90% of things such as, fruits and vegetables and a good whole food diet. Now, I put in source here to touch on the brands that we're talking about today. So this presentation is going to feature the Max and the Maxine brands, of course, because this is the Max and the Maxine challenge. But the Max and the Maxine brand is the only brand that I can personally vouch for and trust, mainly because the products are made in the floor below my office. So the Max and the Maxine brands are made in Melbourne. So they're Australian made, Australian owned. And I often have lunch with the guys who blend all the products. I have banter with the guys who make the new flavors and such in the office. So they're the only products that I can really trust, because not all brands are of the same quality and not all brands are made in Australia as well. So when you are purchasing different brands, I can't speak on other brands for here. So, but today we're mainly be touching on the Max and the Maxine brands.
I'd also like to add with a lot of the Australian-based stuff, they're quite tightly regulated by transmission, like TGA. So if you're pretty much assured for quality when you buy Australian-based stuff as opposed to the Americans.
Yeah. Touching on that, there was a huge rigmarole to get our licensing to make all the products here in Australia. So that was just constant audits. So if you want a brand to trust, it's the Max and Maxine brand. I can vouch for that one there. Mate, Tristan, let's get started. Let's talk about protein powders.
Awesome.
So someone comes to you and they go, Tristan, what's the deal with protein powders? How do you start explaining that to people?
Well, like most of us know, protein is pretty much us. Every fiber of us is made out of protein, whether it be our muscles, skin, hair, nails, even our internal organs. They're all muscles, and as we know, muscles are made out of protein. So yeah, when I tell them what protein they should use, it comes down to, as you said, financial budget. If you're looking for, I guess, quality, I'd suggest something like the second option that you have there, which is a WPI, which is a whey protein isolate. If you're looking for a cheaper option, I'd suggest something like a protein concentrate. So what's the difference between the two? A whey protein concentrate is the least filtered form of protein. So it comes with all its, like lactose, high cholesterol, sugars, flavors, and things like that. If you want something a bit better for your body, something that absorbs really quickly, that's when you'd go whey protein isolate, because it's absorbed much quicker because it's filtered that extra process. And then we have at the very last, whey peptides. This is pretty much the cream of the crop. It is a pre-digested form of protein. So the moment you consume it, it doesn't have to sit in your gut. You absorb it immediately. So if you have any sort of gut intolerances, or a lot of people come into me going, hey, Tristan, I can't have protein whey because I feel sick. First of all, whey is the best form of protein you can get. It's very well delineated with, its amino acids, so you get a good profile of it. So when they come to me and go, Tristan, I can't have protein because I feel sick, I'd suggest them something like a WPI. And even if they feel ill after that, I take it that step further, where we go whey peptides.
Right. Okay. So my understanding is like the whey is, of course, milk, right? So
yes,
milk gets dehydrated down into its powder form, and then it gets filtered. So the very first form of whey is the whey concentrate, and then as we filter it down, we go into a whey isolate, and then all the way down to a peptide.
To whey peptide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the back of labels, you'll commonly see a blend of the different types. Can you speak a little bit about why we sometimes prefer a blend compared to sometimes just individual things? About the delay of different intakes of protein.
So it comes down to that absorbability, comes down to being satiated as well. So something like a whey protein concentrate sits in your gut a bit longer. So you get that sense of being fuller for a longer period of time. And it also comes down to a different release. So as we eat food, we know food takes a longer time to digest and break down. So you get different spikes of protein. So similar to whey protein concentrate, isolate, and peptides, it's at different spikes in protein. So something like a whey peptide, you consume it, it's absorbed immediately within like 10 minutes. Then a whey isolate will take about 20 to 30 minutes, a concentrate about an hour. So you're constantly fueling your body over a longer period of time. So that's why they give you a blend. It's said to be slightly better than just single proteins, but this comes down to a person's needs.
Yeah, okay. Now, when would you recommend someone to take a protein powder?
Look, there's a lot of research and there's a lot of bro science out there saying, oh, you've got that anabolic window. You have to have it 30 minutes after training. But there's actually no science backing that up. So long as you're getting protein every 3 hours, so in 3-hour gaps, you're pretty much fine. And a rule of thumb based on research, 30 to 50 grams of protein every 3 to 5 hours is good. So it doesn't matter whether you have it at the start of the day or just before bed or straight after training. You want to get it between that 3 to 5 hour period. So having, protein-based meals you're pretty much set on that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cause like the common narrative is to, you always need to have the shake after your train. And I think that's a good behavioral thing because you just, I guess, don't forget it. Right. Because, the normal challenger or the normal person in fitness would have maybe breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they're getting like 3 meals, but we like to have like maybe that 4th spike of protein or 5th spike of protein throughout the day. So, we like that behavioral link to go, okay, after you train, let's have your protein. But like you said, we also see similar benefits when we have a protein intake prior to training. So many people train in the evening, coming to 8, 9 o'clock, they finish the session and then they go home, shower, get ready for bed. And the common question is, do I have a protein shake after? And my suggestion for that would be, you can almost have it beforehand because we're getting this nice spike of, an amino acid called leucine, right? And that muscle protein synthesis. What were you going to say?
See, I would contest that and say have it just before bed, so you're fuller and you're feeling yourself throughout your sleep. Because as you sleep, you're doing the most amount of recovery, and that's when you want the most amount of protein. So for the past couple of months, this is what I've been doing based on a bit of literature supporting this. So I'll have about my 4 meals a day. Wake up in the morning, have my breakfast, then another meal, then a pre-workout meal and a post-workout meal, and just before bed, I'll go have my protein shake, about 50 grams of protein straight before bed. Bang. You go to bed feeling satiated. You hit that sweet tooth that you have because protein's relatively sweet, and you wake up feeling better.
Yeah.
But that's just my approach.
We'll probably touch on another product for night in a moment.
Yeah.
Now, like you said about protein intake throughout the day, and we could always just, instead of having a protein powder, we can always just have like a steak, right?
Yeah.
Do you speak to people about the role of like a protein powder versus having just a steak in terms of behavioral things, in terms of the actually consuming more food? Like, what do you speak to people about that like?
So it comes out. So I also work at a supplement. So a lot of people come to me going, I eat a lot. And that's not the case. So when a protein shake, let's say a fast digesting protein shake, will actually help enable you to eat more because you're not going to be full because it's absorbed quickly. So that's when people who aren't eating much, a shake will actually benefit you because you'll be able to get more in. If you were to eat a steak, you'd feel fuller for longer, and then you're actually eating less throughout the day. So you're actually doing yourself a disservice. So protein is like anything that we talk about today is a supplement. It's to be added on top of a right diet. So something like this will help mitigate that sense of fullness. So that way you can still get that steak later on in the day, but not feel full for the entire day, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a good way to get the calories in, right? Instead of eating another meal. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Look, let's move on to so we could see some products here. We've got the Max's Shred System, which is a bit of a blend with a nice mix of products. We've got the 100% Whey, which is mostly WPI. We've also got the Maxine Burn, which is, I guess, the sister to Shred System, very similar blend. And then the Clean Mass, which is another blend, but a little bit more higher calorie intake for those who want to gain. Now, a common question that comes up is, we have products that are designed for men, designed for women. A common question is, can we have either one's brand? And I guess, working at a supplement store yourself, having different brands, one's made for guys, one's made for girls. Do you see any difference between those two types of brands?
I don't want to rag on your brand or anything like that, but to be honest, there's zero difference.
Right.
Yeah, there's zero difference between that. It's like me going, are you going to eat a different chicken because you're a female? You're not. Or you're going to drink a different milk because you're a female. That's not the case. Protein's protein. It's as long as you're getting a decent profile of the amino acids within it, you're pretty much set. There's no difference between male or female brands.
Perfect. So if you are female and you're watching this, yes, you can have any of the Max's ranges. It's the exact same compound in your body, especially if you are feeling a little bit sensitive to, let's say, the Maxine Burn brand, which may contain a little bit of the WPC, and you want to try one of the 100% Whey, absolutely, you can go ahead and do that. You won't have any problem with that one. Let's move on to some other types of proteins. So this first one here is casein. And casein is mainly featured in our night brands, so such as Maxine Night or the Max's Anabolic Night. Tristan, can you speak a little bit about casein, what it is and what it does in the body?
So casein is a very slow release protein. So compared to the others, as we said, even with a WPC, we're getting a bump in protein spike in your body at about 1 hour. Casein's about 3 to 5 hours where you'll get your first spike, and then you'll get another spike at around the 7 or 8 hour mark based on literature. So once again, this is a really good nighttime protein. So especially a blend where you'll get a fast and a very slow release protein to fuel you for that entire 8 hours that you're asleep. So that way your body can utilize all the nutrition that it needs without, chewing itself up or breaking down its own stores of protein to fuel itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, if someone, can't afford a casein or a nighttime protein, would you recommend the strategy that you suggested earlier where they may just have a regular
they could definitely. So like I said, I personally do, because I don't want to buy 10 different things. It comes down to cost effectiveness and efficiency. If you can afford it, a casein's obviously going to be a bit more beneficial because you can get that 8-hour spike later on in the day. But if casein is not just exclusive to be had at night too. So let's say you're trying to lose weight and you want to bridge one meal to another, and you're the kind of person who gets really peckish. That's when I'd suggest to get casein, because it's a bit more thicker in its consistency and it sits in your gut a bit longer and it's slow release. You'll feel fuller for a longer period of time. So I know I get a lot of my like people who want to lose weight, my Gen Pop clients, and I get them to have like a casein shake in the morning. So that way, during their smoko, they're not actually being peckish and having, let's say, a pie or a sausage roll. They can actually bridge themselves from one meal to another.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk on some plant-based proteins, and here we've got the Maxine plant-based protein here, which is mostly a pea protein and a brown rice protein. Can you speak a little bit about plant-based protein powders?
So plant-based protein powders are a good alternative to whey if you're completely, intolerant to the whey molecule, because we do get people who are like that. Even like the whey peptides can sometimes set them off. But there's one thing to be really careful about plant-based proteins, is that there is something known as the leucine threshold, which is your one of the three branched chain amino acids, which plants are actually quite low in. So as long as you're getting a variety of plant proteins, you're good. But if you're just getting purely pea or a purely rice-based protein, you're not going to hit that leucine. So it's not going to help you recover as efficiently as, let's say, something as a whey. But nonetheless, it's still good, because it's going to stop you from, feeling sick, feeling bloated, and that's actually going to make you feel better in the long term as opposed to short term.
Now, with the Maxine burn here, the Maxine plant-based protein, mostly pea and brown rice protein. Do you know of other sources of plant-based proteins?
So you've got another two sources that I'm aware of. You've got soy protein, and then you've also got hemp protein. So out of all of them, hemp is probably your best because it's got a better amino acid profile. It's actually relatively higher in leucine that we talked about. That's like, let's look at leucine as like the bodybuilding amino acid. It makes you bigger. It helps you recover most efficiently. So it's got a higher profile in leucine, but once again, nothing compared to your wheys. Your whey is going to be the best. And that's been the literature for the last, let's say, 20 years, saying there's nothing out in the market that actually competes with the whey. But once again, it comes down to digestion, comes down to absorption. It's how you feel. So if you feel better on plant-based proteins, highly recommend staying with them, because you're better off consuming that and feeling better than feeling ill and not being able to utilize it to its full potential.
Yep. Let's touch on collagen protein. We are yet to have a collagen protein range at the moment. But can you speak a little bit about collagen protein?
Collagen protein is going to do absolutely zero for muscle recovery. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's actually going to be really good for your hair, skin, and nails, because that's the amino acid profiles that helps with your hair, skin, and nails. So your body is very efficient. So when it gets something, it will go and look at it as a pattern. It goes, all right, this will get utilized for this will get utilized for that. So when we consume collagen-based protein, it's going to go right for that. It's going to help with tendon issues. It's going to help with ligament-based issues. It's going to help with healthier hair, healthier skin. But if you're looking for it in terms of muscle recovery, it's not going to do much, because once again, it's very, very, very low in leucine. It almost has zero leucine in it. So it's not going to stimulate that muscle recovery pathways.
Interesting. And the last bit here was just other forms. And I mainly wanted to touch on insect-based protein. I don't know if you know enough.
You're one of those.
Yeah, no. So I guess this is an open question to you, is do you know of any other forms of protein that maybe we haven't touched on yet, or any maybe future types of proteins that may make an appearance?
As far as I know, no, not that I'm aware of. I know there are people who are trying to get actual peptides and deconstruct them and make them into a protein form. There's only one type of protein that I actually know that is completely different, which is known as a hydrolyzed casein, which is completely different to normal casein. It is the most expensive protein on the market, which I think there's only one company that makes it. But in terms of absorbability, it's next to nothing. I think it's got an absorption rate of less than a minute. So you consume it and it's straight into your system. Mm-hmm. But once again, pound for pound, I think for 500 grams, it retails at $95. It's not worth it. you're better off sticking with your normal way. It comes down to cost benefit analysis. Yeah, you're going to spend so much money, but is it really going to make that much of a difference? Not really. So you're better off sticking with your basic ways.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next product here. We've got creatine. And I guess creatine gets a little bit of hype, and it's kind of thrown in the same category as almost like a growth hormone, right? It's like, oh, that's
like it's a steroid.
It's a steroid that's not allowed. So
yeah.
Can you first speak about the role of creatine? What does it do in the body?
So your body has three main energy systems. The most short-lived energy system is known as your creatine phosphate system. So what happens is your body breaks down a creatine molecule to release an energy molecule known as adenosine triphosphate. So that energy molecule is then utilized to help with your muscles contracting or helping you, produce a contraction. Yeah. So what happens when we consume creatine? We get creatine from a variety of sources, but let's say if you wanted 5 grams of creatine through natural sources, in terms of like your meats or your chickens, you're looking at about 2 kilos of chicken to get 5 grams of creatine. And this is when supplementing comes really handy. If you're an athlete or you train quite rigorously, I suggest supplementing it, because you got to saturate your muscles. That way it's got more of it to contract and you can have better energy output. There's a lot of misconception around creatine is that you'll get this energy hit, or you get bloated, or you'll put on a lot of weight. It's a load of nonsense. Just not going to sugarcoat it. Creatine draws fluid into your cells as a recovery process. There was a study done not too long ago on pregnant ladies and creatine supplementation. Creatine actually helped the baby. It put the baby in a higher oxygen environment, even if the placenta was actually constricted, because it draws more fluid into your cells. So you're drawing more nutrients into your cell. Mm-hmm. So in terms of training, because you've saturated your muscles with more energy molecules, let's look at creatine as an energy molecule, you'll be able to train at a higher output for a longer period of time, but not too long. So let's say you're bench pressing 100 reps normally for 1 rep. But because you've saturated your muscles with creatine, because you've got more energy molecules within you, you might be able to push out that extra rep before your body utilizes it. And this is where I recommend creatine for like short stay athletes. So someone who's a sprinter, or you're doing 1 or 2 lifts as a power lifter. It's going to be the most efficient. Yeah.
Yeah. Creatine is like the number one research ergogenic, as in it's the most recommended supplement to take.
And it's so inexpensive. Like I don't know how much you guys sell it for, but it's fairly cheap. And for the amount of benefits you get for it, I highly recommend each and every person hop on creatine.
Yeah. So tell us quickly, how much should people take? When should they take it? And then I guess how long until you reach the saturation that you mentioned? So
it takes about 5 to 7 days for saturation. If you read on the back of a lot of containers, they say you got to take it, a loading phase. You don't have to. Creatine is something that you should have every day, regardless if you train or you don't train, because it's got to build up within your system. If you don't take it, your muscles are going to utilize it, and then you're going to have decreased creatine stores. So you're not going to be saturated. Mm-hmm. So you got to take it every day, regardless if you train or don't train. Mm-hmm. Okay. And 5 grams a day, which is about a teaspoon, with carbohydrates to increase its absorption into your muscle cells.
Yeah. Okay. And that can be had at any time of the day. So you don't need to be taking it before or after you train. However, I guess once again, behaviorally, it may be easier just to put it in with a protein shake after you train, so that you don't forget, because some types of creatine, such as creatine X8 here, is flavorless. And if you try to have that in a drink, it's just like drinking chalk almost. It's but then some are flavored, like Crea Burn, which is this great flavor, and some are in capsule forms as well. So you can have that any time of the day, and it takes maybe seven days up to a month, depending on the type of creatine load that you take. And there's a few different types that we'll touch on. Mostly creatine monohydrate is the most researched type, the cheapest blend, and there's a few different types that you've outlined here as well.
Yep. So you've got creatine hydrochloride, which is said to be the most purest form, and crealkaline, which is meant to be a pH balanced creatine. but none of that really matters. The most efficient one, and this is based on research, and the cheapest one, just creatine mono. So anyone who tries to tell you you need more or something different, you don't. Creatine monohydrate is going to be your mainstay.
Yeah. Let's move on here. We've got stimulants now. So mainly what we're talking about is caffeine, and we've got our pre-workouts. So can you talk quickly about the role of a pre-workout? What does it do and how does it make you perform?
So a pre-workout is a very broad term. It's a very broad umbrella term. So a pre-workout has a lot of things. So the way I explain a pre-workout as opposed to a fat burner is a pre-workout is going to help you with mental focus. It's going to help you with delaying fatigue. It's going to help you with energy production slightly. And those are the three main things it's going to help with. Whereas a fat burner is just going to give you energy because it's going to break down your fats or help you oxidize your fat cells so you can utilize that throughout the day. But you're not going to get them like that mental focus as you would from pre-workout. Nor you're going to get that delay in fatigue or pump as well.
Yeah. We do find that taking a pre-workout, even just a simple cup of coffee, can help with, mental focus, probably the main one.
Yes.
And, if you are lifting heavy, like let's say you're squatting, like you need all the mental focus as you can. And if you are like fatigued from the day, or, you're thinking about other things, you're not going to be able to lift heavy. But if you were able to take something like a pre-workout or even just a cup of coffee and you're able to focus chronically over time, you're just going to get more performance and more gains basically.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of pre-workouts have a lot of other compounds that we're actually going to touch on in a moment. So this will make another appearance later on. So next we're talking about amino acids generally. Do you want to start by just talking about, what is an amino acid and, what do they do in the body?
So amino acids, like I've touched before, the three main branched chain amino acids or BCAAs are your leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And the most important being leucine in terms of bodybuilding. So you need blocks of amino acids to build a whole protein chain. So you got, I think it's about 13 to 15 amino acids before you can create a protein chain. So what happens when we supplement something like BCAAs or essential amino acids? So they actually prevent you from undergoing a process known as gluconeogenesis. All that means in English is glucose or carbohydrates from a new source. Our body functions best on carbohydrates. So when we're training and we've depleted our carbohydrate sources, our body's going to go, what's the next best way to create energy? And it's actually not fats. Fats are actually quite a lengthy process to break down. They require a lot of oxygen, but proteins are actually quite easy. So body will break down its own protein stores to create more energy. So this is where BCAAs or essential amino acids come in really handy because they inhibit that process. Because you've got them in your body's going to utilize those as an energy source and preserve your muscles. So it stops you from going catabolic.
So talking about BCAAs, when would you recommend somebody have a BCAA?
So something like that whilst you're training. And I think a really good one that I've actually used in the past has been Intraboost, because it comes with that little bit of caffeine. So you feel a bit better on it. You feel a bit more energized and your metabolism is working a bit quicker. You're going to utilize all the nutrients and everything a bit more efficiently.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess my suggestion for BCAAs is to either have them, intra workouts, so similar like the Sip and Burn or the Intraboost, or have them at other times of the day outside of your training time. So for example, if you are training in the morning, I would suggest also another serve of BCAA in the afternoon. And then in the inverse, if you're training in the evening, to have a serve throughout the day, just to kind of balance out our wave of protein spikes like you suggested earlier.
It also comes down to the job you're doing. So like I get a lot of laborers or people, concreters or people just doing hard, rigorous work. I highly suggest they take it, instead of just sipping on water throughout the day, have some BCAAs, because you're going to be breaking down a lot of muscle tissue through long, laborious activity. So even something like that, if you're gardening for an extended period of time, or even like doing intensive cleaning, you could actually sip on BCAAs to keep you in a more building state as opposed to in a more breakdown state.
Yeah, right. Let's touch on beta-alanine. What is beta-alanine?
Beta-alanine is a amino acid. It's a non-essential amino acid, which actually helps you delay fatigue. So this is one of the, more important ingredients in pre-workouts these days. It's the new hype. It's actually quite good for long distance or people training for an extended period of time. So let's say you're training for about 45 minutes, half an hour, beta alanine is going to be your best friend. So it's the tingles. When you take pre-workouts, you want to itch your face. It's because you're staying in a more alkaline state. So the way beta alanine works is it changes the blood pH levels in your body. So as you train, when you get that acid or lactic acid buildup and everything's burning, beta alanine prevents that. Beta alanine helps your muscles contract more efficiently because it's not more acidic. As you get more acidic, your muscles can't actually contract because, let's say, the acid actually prevents the muscles from binding together. Beta alanine stops that process.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is why beta alanine is found in pre-workouts, and then also in our Intra Boost and Sip and Burn, you'll find beta alanine as well. Let's touch on acetyl L-carnitine. So a few products here with acetyl L-carnitine. What is ACL or ACLAR? What does it do in your body?
So acetyl L-carnitine is actually two different compounds together. So the acetyl part goes into your brain and helps with mental focus to create a neurotransmitter known as acetylcholine. So you can function a bit better on it. So a lot of people, they'll take it and they go, I feel so good. I feel so focused because of the acetyl. The L-carnitine is actually a transport chain. So it's like a little train. So when you saturate yourself with L-carnitine, all the fat molecules hop on the train and they go into your cell, like into your mitochondria or your energy production cell, where they can be utilized as energy. So if you've got depleted levels of carnitine in your body, you've got less ability to transport fat. So that's why when people go, I'm not burning as fat that efficiently, it's because some people actually have less carnitine in their body. So supplementing supposedly helps in some people and it doesn't in others. But look, risk reward, it's actually not bad for you. It's not going to cause any detriment. So you're better off supplementing with it if your goals are for fat loss.
Great. So we have acetyl L-carnitine in products such as acetyl L-carnitine, and they're also found in our burn caps and T-Dex as well. And the burn caps and the T-Dex have a blend of a few other fat-burning compounds and a few other things that we have in here as well. Let's touch on L-glutamine or glutamine. What does this do in our body?
So it is the most abundant amino acid. So we produce a lot of it, but it's because we use a lot of it. So L-carnitine, contrary to popular belief, people used to use it more so for muscle recovery, but that's not the case. Not L-carnitine, and glutamine. New research has found that glutamine actually helps with your intestines. So it actually helps improve a lot of gut-based issues. So if you've got, leaky gut, saturation with glutamine can actually be really beneficial. So I think the literature suggests about 30 to 50 grams of glutamine a day, which is a substantial amount, but you will feel a lot better on it. And because you're going to be absorbing nutrients better, because your intestines are functioning at a better capacity, you're going to feel a lot better. Your muscles are going to recover better, and that's going to help with your overall well-being. It also has been shown to decrease things like your stress hormone, cortisol. So because you're producing less cortisol, or it's less than normal, you'll be in a more anabolic state, because cortisol actually causes you to break down muscle tissue as well.
Interesting. Let's touch on a few other common supplements before we run out of time here. So citrulline malate or other nitric oxide boosters. What does citrulline malate do in your body?
So citrulline malate is as you said, a nitric oxide. All that means is you're going to run really fast. Now, it's actually a blood vessel dilator. So it increases the diameter of your blood vessel, or of the muscle that you're going to train. So that way you're engorging your muscle with more oxygen-rich blood, more nutrients and things like that. And because you've got more blood flow, you're going to have more blood going back to your heart. So it's a two-way street. So that way you're going to take away more lactic acid and things away from your muscles, because you're going to force more oxygenated blood. So research has actually shown that citrulline malate decreases DOMS. So if you wake up really sore, supplementing with citrulline malate will actually help you function better, feel better the next day. But it's also going to enhance training, because it's going to help with that, mind-muscle connection, because you'll be able to feel your muscles more efficiently because they're engorged with blood. And it's going to help you isolate and train a bit better.
The pump that we all love, right?
Yes, chase the pump.
And last one here, CLA or conjugated hyaluronic acid.
So CLA is, I would say, falls in a similar category to acetyl-L-carnitine, but it's actually a bit better. It's not that renowned because it is a bit more expensive than acetyl-L-carnitine. It actually works a bit different in the sense that it's got a lot more to it. So it helps with the immune system. It's probably one of the only few molecules that stops you from building more fat cells. So acetyl-L-carnitine is just, or carnitine is just a transport chain. So we'll just carry fat stores into your cell, but CLA prevents you from actually building up more fat stores. That's so long as you're being moderate and modest with your diet. It also helps with the breakdown of fats in overall, but it's got a lot more to it.
Yeah, interesting. Look, let's wrap it up there. Tristan, if somebody had any questions for you, any follow-up questions about some of the supplement compounds that we talked about, where could somebody find you?
So you can find me on Instagram. I think Steve has done me a nice little plug at the start of this PowerPoint at Tristan Shaun, and it's spelled as Trystan, Shaun. So yeah, any questions, any issues with training or nutrition, feel free to come hit me up, or Steve's pretty knowledgeable as well. And yeah, if Steve has any issues, he'll probably team me up anyways.
Great. Tristan, thank you so much for being part of this here. We're going to have to wrap it up there. And thanks to everybody who joined us in this presentation today.
See you guys.